We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Well, welcome and thank you for joining us today as a volunteer for the American Heart Association. This year is the Heart Association's centennial year, our 100th birthday, and our priority is to build a nation of lifesavers by teaching the life-saving skill of CPR to at least one person in every family across the country. Today, you are making a direct impact on this goal by participating in this activity, so thank you. I'm Rachel Ajemian, Associate Vice President of the Boston Social Campaigns, and I'm honored to represent our local team of staff and volunteers today. Before we get started, I want to take a moment and thank Alnylam Pharmaceuticals for their amazing support of the mission of the AHA by bringing this Serve Day to companies like yours across Greater Boston. We're thankful for their support and commitment to giving back. More than 350,000 cardiac arrests occur outside of the hospital each year, and about 90% of people who experience an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest do not survive. But what this number represents to those left behind is what really magnifies the devastation of cardiac arrest. It means loved ones who won't be around for holidays, graduations, or weddings. It means missing faces at backyard cookouts, non-birthdays, and anniversaries. It means grandchildren who won't get to know the wisdom and companionship of a beloved grandparent. Cardiac arrest can break the heart, the whole family, and your willingness to become a volunteer for the American Heart Association by learning about Hands-Only CPR means that you care about heart disease and stroke, and you want to make a difference for future generations. 70% of Americans say that they feel helpless to act during a cardiac emergency. We're currently a nation of bystanders that lack the knowledge to take action and save a life. The American Heart Association and our dedicated volunteers and supporting companies like yourselves are committed to changing this by educating and supporting people across the nation to feel confident to step in during a cardiac emergency. Together, we can build a nation of lifesavers. Today, we'll raise awareness about bystander CPR, learn about AEDs, and help achieve our goal of having one person per household educated about hands-only CPR. Make companies and employees aware of how you can take the next step to get certified and trained in CPR, and remove barriers that prevent people from acting in an emergency. Please understand this presentation is an awareness activity only, which does not constitute proficiency in CPR and isn't a certification program. We will be providing additional information to those interested in learning how to become certified in CPR and for hands-on practice at a training center following this presentation. So for now, let's start our program. The Heart Association recommends hands-only CPR for teens and adults who suddenly collapse. By the end of this presentation, you will be able to share with others how and when to use hands-only CPR, what to do when you call for 911 or other emergency help, and ways that you can take an action and get involved beyond this morning. So what is CPR? CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. By pushing hard and fast on someone's chest, you are performing compressions that act like an external heart. And this makes sure that oxygenated blood is being pumped to the vital organs like the brain and significantly increasing chances of survival and positive outcomes for victims. Hands-only CPR is chest compressions without mouth-to-mouth rescue breaths. It only takes 2 steps to save a life. Call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest. A research study has showed that people who view a CPR instructional video are much more likely to attempt a life-saving resuscitation in an emergency. Hands-only CPR with just those chest compressions, has been proven to be just as effective as CPR with breaths in the first few minutes of an out-of-hospital sudden cardiac arrest. Hands-only CPR also reduces barriers that many of us may face, keeping us from stepping in during an emergency so that we are able to increase a victim's chances of survival. So let's begin with what is a cardiac arrest. If someone collapses and stops breathing, they're most likely in cardiac arrest. 7 out of 10 cardiac arrests happen at home or a residence or a public space. They don't happen in a hospital setting with medical professionals. This is why being willing to step in as a bystander, become a lifesaver by doing hands-only CPR is so critical. Cardiac arrest is when the heart stops beating. So it's triggered by an electrical malfunction that causes the heart to have an irregular beat. When the heart doesn't beat, it can't pump blood to those vital organs like the brain. It can happen unexpectedly and quite abruptly. So heart attack and cardiac arrest are different. A cardiac arrest is not a heart attack, but a heart attack may cause a cardiac arrest. People will often use these terms interchangeably, but they're not synonymous. A heart attack is when blood flow to the heart is blocked, and sudden cardiac arrest is when the heart malfunctions and suddenly stops beating unexpectedly. A heart attack is a circulation problem, whereas a sudden cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. So what do we do if we suspect that someone may be having a heart attack? Well, even if you're not sure that it is a heart attack, call 911 or your emergency response number. Every minute matters in a heart attack. So it's best to call EMS to get into the emergency room right away. By calling an ambulance, emergency medical staff can begin treatment when they arrive, up to an hour sooner than if someone gets to the hospital by car. EMS staff are also trained to revive someone whose heart has stopped, and patients with chest pain who arrive in an ambulance can often receive faster treatment at the hospital. What do you do when you expect someone is in sudden cardiac arrest? Well, cardiac arrest is reversible in most victims if it's treated within the first few minutes. So first step is you call 911 for that emergency medical service backup, and then get an automated external defibrillator if one is available, and use it as soon as it arrives. Begin CPR immediately and continue chest compressions until professional emergency medical services arrive. If 2 people are available to help, one should begin CPR immediately while the other calls 911 and finds an AED. Again, chest compressions should only be paused to use the AED or once EMS arrives. So cardiac arrest can really happen to anyone at any time. And the life that you save very well may be that of a loved one. Sadly, a very small percentage of people who go into cardiac arrest outside of the hospital live, only about 10%. That's only 1 in 10 of our loved ones who survive. So take a moment and look around the room. 1 in 10 survive. Victims may seem perfectly fine before an arrest. They may appear to be healthy, and they may not have any previous known problems with their heart. By performing hands-only CPR, you have the potential to double or triple a person's chance of survival from a sudden cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, disparities exist in bystander CPR rate and in AED use. There's a lack of availability, knowledge of, or ability to afford CPR programs in communities of color, rural communities, and low-income neighborhoods, which results in lower rates of both bystander CPR and bystander AED use. Studies also show that women are less likely to receive bystander CPR than men. Good news is that there's evidence that people who are aware of how to perform hands-only CPR are more likely to act in an emergency, which is why it's so important that all of you are here learning about this skill today. We want to make sure that we remove potential barriers for people to perform hands-only CPR on all victims of cardiac arrest when necessary. Today, less than half of people receive CPR from bystanders before professional help arrives. A woman is less likely to receive CPR from a bystander than a man, and men have 23% higher odds of surviving a sudden cardiac arrest than women. Black and Hispanic adults who experience a cardiac arrest outside of the hospital are substantially less likely than their white peers to receive bystander CPR. And in many communities, the lack of access to care and the distance to professionals means that bystander CPR is truly a matter of life and death. So let's take a few minutes now. We'll watch a video that illustrates how hands-only CPR saves lives, perhaps even the life of someone you love.
Elbows straight and position your shoulders. Do not bring your knees.
Of all the moments you share with your best friend, the greatest could be the moment you save her life. Every second counts in cardiac arrest. Learn hands-only CPR and be the difference for someone you love.
Every time I watch that video, it truly has an impact on me. I think an important takeaway from it is that you don't know if you'll ever need to use hands-only CPR, but knowledge is power. And by knowing hands-only CPR, you will be ready to act in an emergency if needed. So I want to review quickly what we've learned so far. Firstly, hands-only CPR can help save the life of a teenager or an adult who suddenly collapses at home, work, in the park, at school. Hands-only CPR is not for use with infants and young children. Traditional CPR should be used with babies and small children. If someone collapses and stops breathing, they are most likely in cardiac arrest, and hands-only CPR performed immediately can make a difference. Secondly, once you've learned hands-only CPR, you're better equipped to act quickly in a crisis. Don't be afraid. Your actions can only help. If you see a teen or an adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast on the center of the chest. Continue pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. If the person speaks, moves, or breathes normally while you're giving chest compression, hands-only CPR can then be stopped. The first step in performing CPR is calling 911. It's important to stay on the phone and answer all of the dispatcher's questions until they say it's all right to hang up. If you're alone, put your phone on speaker and put it next to the victim as you do compressions. It's important to answer all of the dispatcher's questions and stay on the phone until that they say it's okay to hang up. Giving a precise location, especially if you are using a mobile phone, is important as they won't be linked to your physical address. Answering all of the dispatcher's questions will not delay the arrival of help. So let's take a moment and watch a video demonstrating the actual skill of hands-only CPR.
If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, it is important to act fast. Helping to save a life is easier than you might think. Just start hands-only CPR. The first step is to ask someone to call 911 and to get an AED, or call 911 yourself and put your phone on speaker mode so the operator can assist you. Then get directly over the victim. Put the heel of one hand in the center of the chest and put your other hand on top of the first. Then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives. It's important to push giving 100 to 120 compressions per minute, which is about the same tempo as the song Stayin' Alive, or the rate of music you're listening to right now. Let's hope you never have to use hands-only CPR, but know that CPR combined with using an AED provides the best chance of saving a life. If possible, use an AED every time you provide CPR. Again, if you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, don't be afraid to start hands-only CPR. Remember, call 911 and ask someone to get an AED, then push hard and fast in the center of the chest until the AED and help arrives. Your actions can help save a life.
So let's take a moment and talk about AEDs. Automated external defibrillators, or AEDs, are lightweight, portable devices that deliver an electric shock through the chest and to the heart. This shock can potentially stop an irregular heartbeat or arrhythmia and allow a normal rhythm to resume following a sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest occurs when the heart malfunctions and stops beating unexpectedly. If not treated within minutes, it quickly leads to death. AEDs can typically be found in lobbies of businesses, schools, and other community centers. They will be affixed to a wall or labeled as you see here in the pictures. If you're not aware of where your office, community center, or place of worship's AED is, familiarizing yourself with those locations can ensure you're a lifesaver in future emergencies. AEDs are designed to talk you through how to use them with images and an automated voice, as well as a typical metronome tone to help you keep your chest compressions firm and regular. More information will be shared after this presentation to demonstrate the proper use of an AED. Now let's take a moment and visit some of those frequently asked questions when we're talking about hands-only CPR. First of all, some people are reluctant to help in an emergency because they worry that they could be sued. All 50 states and the District of Columbia have some type of Good Samaritan law to protect bystanders trying to help someone in an emergency. However, if you are still nervous, laws do vary by state. So perhaps check out your local state laws to fully understand any liability. Another question often posed is, can doing hands-only CPR make things worse? What if someone has an injury? Can I make it worse doing CPR? In short, no. A person whose heart has stopped needs to have CPR in order to survive. Or what if I do CPR wrong? I don't have formal training other than participating in this activity. What happens if I do it wrong? Without CPR, a victim of sudden cardiac arrest is very, very unlikely to survive. And so any actions that you take in the form of chest compressions and calling 911 can only help a victim of cardiac arrest. Let's recap the 2 steps to become a lifesaver in an emergency. First, call 911 and stay on the line. Second, push hard and fast in the center of the chest. Learning about hands-only CPR during this presentation is only one way that you can help save lives. So I want to share some additional ways that you can help to make an impact. We have a variety of flexible and virtual activities available that you can do to maximize your impact as a volunteer and reinforce what you've learned today. We also would like to mention other ways that you can continue your health journey and help others in your community. As we close out this presentation, we want to leave you with a few calls to action, what you can do to make a difference. The first call to action is actually a personal one. Take charge of your health. Please make sure you learn the signs of a heart attack and share that information with others. Make an appointment to get a checkup and take care of your own health by learning more at www.heart.org. Secondly, brush up on your skills. The American Heart Association is excited to offer the AHA Knowledge Booster app with free CPR and first aid models. You can access fresh AHA guideline-based tools in a fun quiz-based application created to reinforce critical CPR, emergency, cardiovascular care, and first aid information. You can download this free Knowledge Booster app today. And again, a link to learn more will be shared with you after this presentation. Third, never underestimate the power of volunteers like yourself taking time to raise awareness about life-saving information. Spreading awareness is key to getting people to act in an emergency. Following this presentation, we will send out a link to social media messages and images that you can post on your Facebook, Instagram, X, or other platforms of choice, in addition to infographics, posters, cubicle signs, and even more. And lastly, your voice truly matters. We all have the power to make a difference by speaking out for policies that help build healthier communities and healthier lives. So by joining the American Heart Association's You're the Cure program, you can be among the first to know when major policy initiatives pass or when your help is needed to advocate for an issue. If you text MISSION to 46839, you can join today. If you're interested in learning how to get certified in CPR after this presentation, or how to become a regional CPR volunteer for the American Heart Association, please visit www.heart.org/CPR to access a variety of resources and information. At the top of the screen, you'll see different headers that will guide you to courses, training programs, resources, and more. Again, that's www.heart.org/CPR, where you can learn how to become a regional CPR volunteer. You can find a local training center that's offering skill checks for employees who are interested in practicing hands-only CPR. You can also purchase adult and child CPR anytime kits, which have everything in them that you need to practice the skill in the comfort of your own home with friends and family. And you can share these, creating a ripple effect across your community, building our nation of lifesavers. Lastly, you can also brush up on your skills by saving and periodically watching AHA hands-only CPRs videos like we saw today. It's really an incredible way to maximize your impact as a volunteer. So I want to thank you all for taking this time today during this lunch hour to educate and empower yourselves to join the nation of lifesavers and equip yourselves to no longer be a bystander in life-threatening emergencies. The life you save very well may be that of a close loved one, and by performing hands-only CPR, you can increase their chances of survival dramatically. If you have more questions about this presentation or how to engage with the Heart Association here in Greater Boston, please reach out to me by responding to the email follow-up materials you'll receive before the end of this week, and I'll be happy to connect you with the best person or resources here at the Heart Association. As we close out this Heart Month in the Association's centennial year, on behalf of everyone, thank you again for your time today to give back to your community by educating yourself. Be well.